pull up the patch so we can talk about patch notes or what to expect. I'll pause the music for a second. Okay, what's next for LOL? LOR. Share details on what's coming next for LOR. Look at the video. 10 a.m. May 29th. During open beta, we learned some important things about live design and balance, and we're using these lessons to add some additional metrics to our existing arsenal we use to help us decide what to change and how we do it. And since we have some new players, welcome again. I'll first recap our existing goals and metrics. Our overall goal for live balance remains to maintain a fair and diverse metagame where every champion's gameplay dream can be realized. Nice. It's important to note, Braum, poor Braum. It's important to note that we don't expect all champions to be equally competitive at the highest of levels. However, we do want achievable gameplay moments for all of them. In order to achieve this, we'll continue to update cards for balance once a month in order to cultivate a healthy metagame over time. When deciding on changes, we look to a number of metrics and your collective feedback with particularly key ones, including individual card win rates, deck win rates, and champion play rates. We also want every card to have a home, which, taken with this above framework, helps us decide which specific cards to test and ultimately change. Now for Rising Tides, we're updating some of our internal metrics to better cover metagame health. For example, we've begun looking at top meta decks over time to evaluate how well they successfully test player skills, such as within game decision making, deck building skills, adaptability, etc. Similarly, we're more broadly analyzing which parts of the meta are occupied by top decks in order to help inform changes that encourage a wider variety of competitive archetypes. Thank you for your continued feedback. What a great company. What an awesome development team. They got this dream. They want the cards to be cheap. They want it to be accessible. They want all the cards to be playable. No junk cards. I can't tell you how many games I've played and you just get junk cards. Every card is going to have a home somewhere, so it's worth having all the cards. So let's take a look at the first thing up, the champion updates. Vladimir, no change in the stats, but the attack bonus for Vladimir. And Vladimir comes down on turn 5, often leveled up. Turn 5, turn 6, not that hard to get some damage, survive some combats, do damage to your own things. Not that hard. And then whenever it's leveled up, it's 6/6 regeneration. We already know that. But now whenever it attacks, whenever it damages your things to damage their nexus, it's now a drain. So you get a little life gain with Vladimir. I don't know if that's going to be enough to make it more playable, but we will see. It's definitely, a buff, but maybe the life gain might be good for a mid-range deck. With a full-on board, swing out, gain 4, drain them for 4. That's a big swing in life totals, so we'll have to see for sure. Karma, everybody's looking for a Karma rework, Karma nerf. Karma's been terrorizing the format, paired with Ezreal, paired with Heimer, paired with Lux. Karma's just been all over the place for a long time now, and they changed its cost from 5 to 6 on both sides. I don't know that this is enough of a nerf because oftentimes the play pattern with Karma usually is play Karma later in the game and then you get enlightened and then you double spell. I don't think that this is enough of a change to really impact how feel bad it's going to be against Karma going into the future. I think they probably could have reworked it in some kind of way to where maybe they could have made it to where the copies, you could interact with it, similar to Ezreal. If you play a spell with Ezreal out, if you kill the Ezreal, then they don't get the extra copy. Maybe they could do something like that. I don't know if that's feasible with the way that the stack works in the game, but something I think has to change, and we'll probably see something change in the next month for sure. We'll see if the 5 to 6 is a big metric. The only downside I really see to the 5 to 6 is that it's harder to, protect it the same turn it comes down. So it's not going to be gaining as much value earlier in the game, but it's still going to have that domineering in game appearance. Karma. It is the same mana cost. I mean, more directly, the Karma Lux deck is probably getting hit most from this because it's on the same mana cost as Lux, so you can't curve the Karma into the Lux with your 3 mana to protect it up for both. You know, because usually you want to save a protection spell. You go into turn 5, you save your 3 mana, and then you have some way to protect it, whatever it may be. And then if they don't come after the Karma, then you still have that spell mana for when the Lux comes down. You know, which needs less protection because it's got a barrier. But I guess one upside to the 6 going up specifically against that deck is that you can't play Karma and Unyielding it in the same turn, which wasn't a super common line, but definitely a line that was played out. Say you have Lux out and you play Karma on 13 with 13 mana, and then you got 8 left over. You go in, shield your Karma, boom, and then you know, get 2 beams or whatever. So like, I don't know. Maybe that's enough of a nerf to at least maybe diversify Karma a little bit more. But I'm pretty sure it's going to be pretty insane. Oh, you can't play 2 Karmas in the same turn. Okay, well that's a reasonable thing. I've definitely done that before. Played a Karma, they killed it, and just played another Karma. Said was up, especially in Spooky Karma. That'd be interesting to see if it has enough impact, but the feel bad way that the card plays is still going to be there. Maybe to a lesser extent because it's less efficient, but you know, people are definitely gonna, you know, the people who don't like Karma and losing that end game are still gonna lose that end game, but maybe less frequently. So that's good. Maybe it'll open up some diversity. It definitely makes the Karma Lux, I think, deck get hit worse than most of the Karma decks. Looking at Shin now. Shin's getting the buff 3 power. 3 power. That's a big buff. It's just one number. But this can now trade with things that otherwise would be able to block it. Most things on turn 4 at least have 3 power. So they would easily just take out half the health of your Shin while you're giving a shield to something else. Well, at least now they have to think about it. So this is pretty good buff. Hopefully we'll see Shin with some more action. It's probably still going to be paired with the Mossy because that has the most challengers, but maybe we'll see it paired up with something else. I don't know. Maybe it might be good with Scouts or something. I don't know. Probably not. Shin loves Fiora. You know, they're besties. So maybe this will make it more viable since it's got more power on both sides. I mean, I'm excited that maybe it's more playable because I like Shin as a champ. Vi, definitely saw this Vi nerf coming. Ben said, whoa, 5 toughness. With tough is really hard because this thing come down on 5 and it just eats Garen, it eats Radiant Guardian, and you know, there's a lot of ways they could have changed this card. They could have made it start with 0 power and then you had to work it up to where at least you couldn't just top deck it and have a board presence. But this card's always getting 2-for-1s and generally can pull out a 3-for-1, which is pretty high impact for even a champion to get a 3-for-1 out of a board state. It's pretty nasty. Plus, it could just win too. Being 10 power, it closes quickly if you don't give them the value that Vi demands. So, I'm not surprised to see it go down in toughness. So you're not going to see the 3-for-1s coming out of Vi near as often. And it's, you know, something to note that a Thermo Beam at the same mana cost, 5, is going to be able to deal with it, which is cool. And then it, you know, will trade now with all the 5 power things like Garen, and which makes a little more sense. So I expected this, and I figured this would be the change. -1 toughness. It's still very playable. You just have to work a little harder on where you're getting the value. You're just not getting sick value. The value's still going to be there. So still very playable. Vi is great, you know, but a little bit more to work with. Also a lot easier to hit with the Obliterator, the Depths Obliterator. If it's got 4 and like it eats your 2 power thing, okay, like you can hook it with a Maokai Seedling and then you can finish it off with the Obliterate, which is gives it more play in that match. Letting it roam free. Hecarim, man, this card has not seen any play since the last nerf that it took, which it had to take a nerf because this card was just standalone awesome. You played it without Ephemeral. You weren't around for that previous version of Hecarim, it just owned Shadow Isles, and Shadow Isles owned the game at that point in time. And then they did a sweeping pile of nerfs, and then they came and hit Hecarim again. So like this Hecarim nerf, I'm not saying that. Basically, Hecarim used to make 3/2s, and now it makes 2/2s, and that's a lot worse. But now that you're spending 6 mana on Hecarim, you got to at least get a 5/5, 4/5 for 6. It's just never going to be able to attack on any board that comes down on 6, is it? Especially when the removal on Shadow Isles doesn't really clear higher toughness and higher power on that turn. Like, unless you save a bunch of mana vengeance, their big thing, and then open with the Hecarim, they could even still counter by playing something bigger. So at least it, like the Vi, trades with Garen and other things of a similar mana cost, to where at least you can get in there and not just throw away your Hecarim to get a little damage in, and maybe bump both things. And so I'm excited to see what Hecarim's going to do. Plus, now they have a lot of new things. They have a Blighted Caretaker that makes the ephemerals. You have Maokai, which makes the seedlings as well. And those are going to, the saplings, which are going to be ephemerals going towards the Hecarim. So he's probably going to be easier to level up. I think they did decrease it last time to 7. So maybe we'll see some more ephemeral things. I would like to see maybe a mono Shadow Isles deck, play it with, it doesn't have to be mono, but pairing it up with Maokai might be cool, because you can hook the big thing to get the Hecarim in, and then it's like more threatening. If you come with a Maokai into a Hecarim. I like that it got buffed on both sides. Hopefully it'll see more play, because it hasn't been. And that's like their goal, like they said. Followers and spells. These big changes for Demacia. The Great Horn Companion got +1 power. It used to be a 4/5. This is a good buff for this card. Gonna probably get it to see some play in some scout decks. I think now 5-drop is kind of only Quinn at this point, so it'll be nice to get another 5-drop in that deck. And like on an open board, this thing just has to be answered, because it's like 5 power, 5 power. It's like if they controlled the game and traded the whole time, now you got the scout up the ass coming at you with 2 swings. And 4 swings from this thing, you're dead from full Nexus health. So I think it'll probably get a spot in the scouts. Speaking of scouts, the Grizzle Ranger got the buff, so they moved the power, 1 power from Grizzle Ranger to the Great Horn Companion. This definitely needed a nerf. 4 power, 4/1, and then it would make a 4/4. I think we also have to talk about Badger Bear while we're talking about the Grizzle Ranger. Nearly crafted 2 more. Yeah, Boosty. Y'all want to make any moves on the stuff until I think everything settles. Unless you really need it for testing or for a tournament. You want to find out what's working before you blow your wild cards. Especially, like, I'm thinking the same thing for my FTP account. I'm glad that I didn't go build a bunch of stuff. But this Grizzle Ranger, like, just needed to be nerfed. You put it next to the every other 4-drop in the format, and it's dominating. Even like the best things that can deal with it are maybe Shadow Isles, because Shadow Isles could like chump with a spider, then they get the 4/4. Now you deal with the 4/4, and it feels something similar to Cursed. What's the name of the Curse card? I forget the name of the Curse card. The little the haunted caretaker or whatever it is. Not the blood. The curse. The one that when it dies you get the 4/4. Kind of feels like that in a lot of ways, but if it doesn't get killed, it's 4/4/4, and you're guaranteed to get value out of it as soon as you block. Boom, and it can block where the other one can't block. So it felt a lot like that whenever the trades happen on Shadow Isles, but whenever it's not a shadow deck that's like equipped to deal with some 4/1 and think about like Will of Ionia decks, stuff like that, you're gonna have to just feed it to open it up to then deal with the 4/4. And it's like, wow. And then you pair this with things like single combat, and then it's just like a bunch of 4/4s everywhere. I don't think it was good for the format at all. So it had its little time this patch, and now it got its little nerf. Also, the Badger Bear lost 1 in the power, so maybe we won't see Badger Bear like be auto include 3 mana 4/4 in every Demacia deck as it was. Maybe you'll think about your options because of the nerf. I think 3/4 is still respectable and playable, especially because how good it is with the high toughness to pair with single combat and surviving a combat the turn it comes down to be able to get pumped in by Bannerman. So I think it's still playable and still intact, but the power level did need to go down a little bit. Um, Laurent Chevalier. Yeah, this thing needed a buff from 3 to 2 health. It's still 4 mana for this. If you look at 4 mana for this compared to 4 mana to this, not that great. Now, one good thing is that it is 2 toughness because there's a lot of single damage removal, like especially in Shadow Wilds. Misfortune, not being able to block because it's got 1 toughness, things like that. Make it rain, things like that. So maybe we'll see this card pair up with Shen now that it got a buff, and you can strike some value out in Shen's challengers, and that might be something you can do. But it's, giving it a little bit more survivability. I don't think it's going to make the card very playable, but it's less fragile than it was before. So it'd be nice if it saw a little bit of play at least. Because every card needs its place. Standalone. This is a nerf. I think needed to happen over time. It's just not going to be a good card for and for the longevity of the game. I'd say a 3 mana standalone. Just I love standalone. I played it a lot, but man, does it wreck a game if you have a good 3-drop and you banked into good 3-drop standalone. Think about Fiora, Zed. Like the game's just going to end quick, and then like nothing can compete with that on turn 3, and then those factions can just protect it on turn 4. Think repost or deny, things like that. Twin disciplines. So kind of unstoppable. I think there's other ways they could have changed this potentially. Maybe it could have been +3/+2, +3/+1, standalone. Like they could have done it like that, but I guess to keep the feel of the card and make it 4, you could still like play 2 drops and then standalone on turn 3. So maybe, keep an eye out for good 2 drops that come out, but it's not going to be as easy to do as it has been going on now. So I think it's good because in the future, it's going to be too hard to print 3 drops because it's always like, oh, what am I going to do with standalone? There was like a whole week and a half where I tried every single standalone possibility. I looked for every 3 drop that I would want to put this standalone on and tried every single one. And there's going to be more of them, and some are going to be more egregious than others. But I think Zed's already egregious enough that you can, and Fiora, that you can go ahead and just nerf it now. Put it up to 4. It doesn't make it unplayable completely, but it's not completely blown out from as early as turn 3. And then Legion Rearguard. Okay, so Burn obviously was going to catch some nerfs. I thought that Boom Crew would lose 1 toughness. I didn't see this Rearguard toughness drop come in, but it does make sense. 1 mana 3/2. It's going to make this card a lot less playable. It dies to so much more things. So many more things. Thinking about Omen Hawk in particular. Just all kinds of things. Puro, every single lonely Puro that was never had a friend can now kill a rear guard. Like, so this can make this a lot worse. But I think 1 mana 3 power. It's still and it still can't block. So I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to see what these burn decks do. But I think it definitely knocks the deck down from S tier, which I thought it was the best deck in the game, to and it had to happen. Knock it down to tier 2 maybe. Low tier 1, maybe tier 2. Also, in that same vein of Hurt and Burn, they went in and buffed Conning Tavern Keeper. This was already a card, 2 power. It was a 2/3. It gained 3. You could heal an ally or Nexus for free. So didn't see much play because the 2/3 couldn't block the Fearsome, and like it was fine, but not that great, and like kind of only really good against Burn. And if the game shaped up that way, where you see like Health Pot and stuff being good because it's a cheap first spell, and so that kind of heal was better on turn on Deep Meditation and things. But this is just like somebody that is slow for the healing, so not really worth. But now that you have 3 power, it's got reasonable stats for its mana cost. You'll probably see healing some Yetis in the near future. It's kind of funny because they buffed the Trapper and the Trapper. 3 mana 3/3. So this spot is kind of filled up. So you're really gonna have to decide what you want to play in that spot. I think 3-drop spot for the for your decks. Deep Meditation. Yeah, so I think the burn decks are just going to be less on the face, and they're going to have to play more of the board, and there's going to be more interaction, I think. So I don't know if they pair it maybe with Demacia and get more aggressive and go that route. Maybe they end up going with some scouts, but they're going to have to play the board more because the reach is going to be harder to get to, because these units are going to be easier to deal with earlier. Normally, you just get your opponent to 10 in the first 3 to 4 turns, and then you could burn them out from there before your opponent could ever possibly kill you, because most decks kill on turn 7. You could literally not interact with them for 2 or 3 turns, and if they don't have a Relentless Pursuit or something crazy like that, then they'll just die naturally to the burn spells. So we're going to see they're probably going to go back to the champion versions of the aggressive decks. You might see Jinx. I was kind of hoping for a Jinx buff. Spoiler alert, I'm not about to show you a Jinx buff. Something like that. Make those cards more playable. We'll probably just see more Darius. And, you know, having to play on the board more and being able to win combats and things and not just give up and decimate your opponent out anymore. Deep Meditation. This card was one of the best cards that came out. Rising Tides. Being able to, you know, just draw 2 for 4 is already a good rate at burst speed, but being able to cast this card for 2 if you played 2 spells the turn before, you just had a 2-spell turn, and you're just like, okay, I just had a 2-spell turn, probably ended up with me winning the round for sure. If I cast 2 spells, I probably came out of that in pretty good shape, but, you know, your opponent's probably feeling like, okay, well, you know, at least he played all his spells there, and then you're just like, oh yeah, 2 mana Deep Meditation. Draw 2 spells. I mean, especially when we're talking about like Karma, drawing extra spells, a late game Karma, a Deep Meditation. It's just like, boom, get all this. And then I think that overall this card needed a nerf. I mean, it just felt too powerful. I didn't ever think about how I would nerf it. So this is kind of interesting that they'd go 5 mana Deep Meditation, and then 3 mana if you play the 2 less. I mean, I think it's still fine. Definitely not as good as it was before. This is definitely a hard nerf for this card. Because 5 on the front end is kind of tough, because usually you can Deep Meditation early to set up how you're going to play the next couple turns. Especially if your deck is full of a lot of cheap spells. You see, you know, what kind of options you have. Or like you can Deep Meditation into other spells, and then if you have a second Deep Meditation, you can play those 2 spells and then Deep Meditation. But now that's going to get jammed up in the middle game, and there's going to be more of a closer, more after effect. I mean, 3 mana to draw 2 is still worth it, but I don't know if the 5 up front is going to be as reasonable. Also, do note that this probably makes Heimer a little bit better. Like less of a nerf for Heimer. Obviously, clear power level worse, because obviously it costs more mana. But if you think about it, Heimer, if you cast him on a reduced cost for 3, that's the sweet spot for Heimer, being able to get that elusive turret. So you might not see it sweat the Heimer deck near as much as the other decks that played the card. Boom Crew Rookie in the face of the burn, lost the toughness. I saw that happening. I think that that sucks for Boom Crew Rookie, but the card, it was the best card in the burn deck for sure. So you had to do something. Going down to 3, it's going to mean that this isn't going to be able to. I mean, there's a lot of 2 drops with 3 power. They can just come down and eat the Boom Crew Rookie. But you'll still get in for 2, which I think burn decks are still going to want. Still going to want to play. There's some decks that don't play a lot of early units, or if they do, they're 2 power or 1 power, and those are going to do the same Boom Crew trades that were there before. But, you know, it's kind of big that you can kill this thing with a Thermo Beam on turn 2 if you played nothing on turn 1. You could also kill it with a lot of the 3 damage removal as soon as it comes down. You're not going to have the Noxian Fervor, which I think was the real culprit, was the printing of Noxious Fervor, because you could like fervor the Boom Crew Rookie, or like you could attack with the rookie, they block with their 3 power, think they're like chunking this rookie. Next swing in with a rookie, it gets blocked, but it's now hit for 4 off the ability. And after it gets blocked, then you Noxious the rookie to their face. I mean, that rookie did a lot of work, and they do that. So I think you just, if you want the rookie to be good, you're going to have to work it a little bit more. Don't be surprised to see other decks pick up on the rookie, like Yoink decks trying to steal the cards, because it's still good on being able to attack. and guaranteed plunder effects. Speaking of plunder, you might see it paired with Freyord. Would not be surprised. I'm obviously going to try playing this with maybe some spells, man. Throw a Sumpworks map on that thing and get going, or you're just going to have to work more for this Boom Crew rookie. Um, and that's okay, I think, because the card was too powerful. I don't know how else you could have nerfed it. Some people say maybe you could have went down to one, dealing one whenever it attacked. I've seen those comments before. I like the two. The two feels solid, but I don't know. You couldn't really. I don't think you want this thing to be a 1/4. It's a tough card because it's like I don't feel like it killed it, but it's just not as powerful as it was before. And that's what a nerf is. Brood Awakening back up to 6 mana. Can you believe it? 6 mana Brood Awakening. Okay, well this card was 6 mana, and they made it 5. Now they think that is too good, so it went back up to 6. Okay. Becomes overly potent as a defensive tool in control decks or kill your own units combo decks. Yeah, it's very potent because when it was 5 mana, you play it, boom, you get 3 spiders. Now it's 6, so basically you literally have to do 0 the first 3 turns to be able the first 2 turns to be able to cast this on turn 3. Okay, that's probably not worth it. And now you can't play Brood Awakening on turn 3 with 1 banked, then go into turn 4 and play another one and have a full board of 3/1 spiders. 2 Brood Awakenings just killing an open board, make you have a Withering Wail. If you don't have a Withering Wail, you're probably going to die. If your deck can't play Withering Wail, then you're probably significantly behind on the board. So that kind of power level is too much. So I get that. This is going to weaken Karina control. I think decks that play spiders already are probably still going to want some of this effect, but maybe it's not going to be an auto-include of 3. Maybe we'll see some love from some of the spiders from Noxious now, and so there's not like this clear path where it's like, okay, we're doing Brood Awakening and this card's just got value. We're gonna have to think about this a little bit more. Arachnoid Host, maybe, things like that. We have other options for the same, for less mana now. So it'll be nice to give some other cards some airtime, I think. And this will probably be relegated to more dedicated spider decks instead of just, if you can cast it, cast it. I mean, I'd play this in any Thresh deck that had a Thresh in it. Just get 3 bodies on the board, get that triggers for Thresh. So, Longtooth, Chum the Waters, Physics, Chum the Waters. We're adjusting Longtooth to allow Chum the Waters to be a bit less punishable and more reliable, especially in expeditions where associated decks have been struggling. Chum the Waters can now also be played without an enemy unit in play. While this is actually a bug fix, it should allow for added versatility. So the Longtooth gets an extra toughness. That's what everybody wanted in this world. More than anything else in this patch, I guarantee you, this is what everybody wanted. Longtooth had to have another tooth. So now he's got, he's got his molars back over here. Up to 2 toughness. Alright, that's sweet. They also fixed the bug, like they said. That's good. I'm not dying to like Static Shock and make it rain. I mean, you go through a lot of work to make a Longtooth, so might as well make it worth it. Monkey Idol. This is a pretty sweet card, and I always felt like whenever I played this card in Expeditions, or whenever I first saw this card, that it made 3 monkeys over time, because it just felt like it would have to. 3 mana, 0 power, does nothing. Next turn you get the Powder Monkey, which is 2/1 ephemeral, and it felt like it should be doing something. And like whenever I only got 2 monkeys, I felt disappointed. So disappointed, in fact, that I had to get the monkey companion for the game, so I could have an extra monkey. And here we are. Monkey Idol's getting an extra toughness. What does that mean? If it doesn't take any damage, it will shit out 3 powder monkeys over turns, which is great because when the powder monkeys die, they deal damage to the face, which is good for plunder and good for making blockers. I wouldn't be surprised to see this in a lot of Yoink decks potentially. Also, the monkeys are ephemeral, so maybe you can pair this with a new Hecarim buff to maybe make some work out of that. I'm happy this Monkey Idol's got the +1 toughness. 1 more monkey is all we needed. Speaking of 1 more toughness, Slotbot is getting 1 more toughness and 1 more power. This card's a 0/3. I literally just played Expeditions and cast one of the worst cards, Shatter, to kill a Slotbot the turn it came down. It was pretty amazing. And then I'm like, well, that's not happening tomorrow because Slotbot's got 1 power now. This is 5 power, 5 points of stats for 3. If you pass the turn, it's actually guaranteed +1 because you drew a card. So 6 points of stats for 3. Now they do get rearranged every turn. They get shuffled for sure, and you can get it to be add. You can get it to add more than 1 by setting up a lot of draw effects. So, but the way to evaluate this is on a baseline. It's 6 stats for 3. You don't get them all on the turn that you play it, but like when the turn passes, you'll get them. So, or more. I think this card's going to be very playable, and I can't wait to try it in decks that draw cards. I've been playing Plaza Guardian. If you haven't seen my videos on YouTube for Get to the Plaza, that's a sweet deck that draws a ton of cards. And Slotbot might be an alternate win in there for when you don't find the Plaza Guardians early enough. Definitely want to see that. They're watching Unyielding Spirit. I'm really surprised that this card didn't get increased. And mana cost by at least 1 just to see how it feels, because it's a nasty card. Demacia, I played triple Unyielding Spirit in my Demacia deck in the tournament this past weekend. I couldn't lose with it. It was insane. I was winning matchups that are supposed to be favorable because they just can't. Some decks just can't beat the Unyielding Spirit, especially in a tournament environment. I think Unyielding Spirit's even worse because, and I think it's even going to get even worse in the future because if you're, they are heavily hurting the burn decks, which can ignore the board, ignore the board decks. Like you have this board clunker in Unyielding Spirit, plus the gameplay that it produces whenever 2 players both have Unyielding Spirit against each other. It's like not the best. You don't want to be watching that. That's all you have to do in the afternoon. You probably change the channel, and we don't want anybody changing the channel in this game. So Unyielding Spirit, it's on the watch list for a reason. But for goods, card stealing. It feels bad when your cards get stolen. It feels even worse if your cards get stolen and you're playing Freyord and you had a Seer out on turn 2 and you play like 5 spells and they steal your 1-mana Yeti off the top of your deck. Trapper, like that card got buffed before the new set came out and it was good for like a week and a half, and I was so happy because I liked that card. And then now it just gets stolen. You put the Yeti on top of your deck and they'll steal it. They'll get the 1-mana Yeti. Huge liability. That card just basically can't be played in the meta if people are stealing cards. So I think that there's a lot of ways you can fix the way pilfered goods and card stealing works. Also, having to play around cards you don't even know that they're stealing. Like I've done it before, and it's been really hard. Like I played around a Radiant Guardian that I felt like they stole because they made a pretty obvious attack, like they would have Radiant Guardian. They'd only stolen 1 card at that point in time. It's kind of hard to put them on it. And it was like a 4-mana Radiant Guardian because they got it off the black market merchant. And I played around it, and sure enough, they had to play it as a 5/5, which is pretty crazy. But that I pegged it, but that was like the most genius thing I've ever done, I feel. And like every game shouldn't be like that. Having to think about it. I think maybe you could have a way where if you steal the cards, maybe they get stolen face up. Or I thought, and this is just my idea, that you can steal from the bottom of the deck, just like toss. The toss mechanic tosses from the bottom of the deck, tosses non-champion cards. Go for goods and card stealing. They all steal non-champion cards. So stealing from the bottom is one thing. The downside of that is the upside of your opponent stealing your stuff is that there's a higher chance of you drawing or finding your champion faster. But I don't know. If you grab from the bottom, then you don't have to. It takes out a whole element of the game of top deck pump, which is one of the coolest things in Freyord, in my opinion. So I guess I'm just a little bit more salty about it. I don't think it's overpowered. I don't think it's terrible to play against, but I see why people dislike it. And personally, I just like it because I'm looking out for, my starlets here, basically. Then you look at the Nexus damage and Rising Tides. Rising Tides, thematics and mechanics, Pirate's Plunder, Siege Weapon have significantly increased the amount of direct Nexus damage available to players. We've seen some problematic, potentially overloaded Nexus damage decks rise as a result, and have made some targeted adjustments in this patch aimed at making early damage more preventable. Access to a healing is another potential lever for the regions that boast it, and we've adjusted a few cards to provide options. True. The scope of this issue is rather large, so we'll continue to monitor it and the effect of changes in this patch over time. Yeah. We got a lot of damage out there, y'all. And out there watching out for it. So good. Yeah, if you just make a little bit better healing, maybe add some life steals, a couple of units, could be better. We shared some thoughts on these two towards the end of beta. Yeah, I remember that. Telling some of our problems with their existing designs. We've adjusted Karma in this patch, and Edriel has. I mean, you didn't really adjust their design of Karma. It is a nerf for sure, but its design is the same. It's still going to be this in-game threat. And Ezreal that doesn't have much counterplay. I mean, it could fill up the board with 10 spells, and there can't be any interaction. Like, I've been in that spot before, and that feels bad. Ezreal has seen a drop in win rate since release of Rising Tide, so at the moment, we're just continuing to monitor both champions. Yeah, it's good to have them on the watch list. Rules text clarity, they fixed a lot of rules text. Personalization. Oh, this is the best part right here. The Rainbow Puro Guardian plus the emote. This game is so FTP friendly, and that's what I love so much about it, the accessibility of all the cards to everybody. And then it just makes me want to spend money game. And what can you spend it on? Cosmetics. These are the best. Look at this Puro, Rainbow Puro, just scratching. Little big ass tongue hanging out. Look at that mustache. Look at this thing. So good. Rainbow Puro, personality, accepting, loves love. Rainbows Puros are known for having the biggest hearts and brightest colors in all of Runeterra. Hell yeah. You get that little Puro hanging out in the new arcade board. That's where it's going to be at. I can't wait to hear the music on the arcade board. This looks like a little Kirby Puro over here with a sword. That's pretty cool. So this is a sweet ass board too. So I'm definitely going to get that as soon as available. And of course, got new emotes. This Teemo emote is probably my favorite one. It's nice that they have an Elise one because there wasn't an Elise one before. Ezreal, same. Draven, same. No, there was a Draven one, but this one's cool. Pumping the fist. Ezreal sweating. Oh man, Teemo's waiting to see if they're gonna draw mushrooms. Got the deck in front of them. What a sweet, sweet bunch of emotes. And then this is the arcade card back. So you would be completely decked out with the arcade card back, the arcade board, and then the Rainbow Puro. I'm buying it tomorrow. Can't wait. Expedition archetypes. First, we removed, yeah, they changed a lot of the archetypes. Nothing too crazy. They do this a lot with the expeditions. Whenever you play in the expeditions, they usually guide you by the different archetypes. So if you're not familiar with the what you want in your expeditions, it's great for new players. You can just follow the header. Like I'll take Death's Door over and over again because the cards will generally synergize with the other cards in the Death Door pack. So every patch they end up changing, putting some in, taking some out, adding some new synergies to them. Adding more synergistic things, removing things that don't synergize as well or are overpowered. So we got some changes. They added Vi and removed Ezreal from cloning programs. See, that just makes perfect sense to me because Ezreal never seemed like it belonged to cloning program. But I'm not going to get all in on all that because there's so many changes to the expeditions. But language support, bug fixes, new fixes, everything's great. Fox no longer deals extra damage to units that have been played multiple times, and now interacts properly with control chaining effects like possession. I never noticed anything like that. But possession doesn't get played that much. Possession though, ooh. Shallow waters can now be played without an. Yeah, they talked about that earlier. So yeah, all in all, I think all these changes are good. Definitely going to be looking for, a change to. And I can't wait to play this slot bot and this monkey idol. These cards are gonna be fun, and I think they're gonna have potential to be great. Like slot bot and a heavy draw deck, it can get out of hand. So, and plus like the randomness, got to get a little Hearthstone in this game, a little bit of random. Sounds great. And I just like that it's going to force people to play, and then everything's not going to be so obvious, which is good. And I think I'm gonna wrap up from here. Actually, I had a good stream. I hope you enjoyed the video. What are your thoughts in the patches? What changes do you think need to be seen? Which ones are you happy with? Which one are you dissatisfied with? I do like the fact that this game is so FTP friendly because they can be more liberal with the changes. They can do them every week, not every week, every couple weeks or every month. And on emergency, move them up because you don't feel as bad because the card values are not that high. So if they make some changes, you're not completely at a loss. Whereas if you like invested in Magic the Gathering Arena or you played Magic Arena or a lot of the other games, Eternal, things like that, you invest, build a deck, and then they change, and then they got to refund you on those cards. That does suck. Maybe you're outside the window because you built the rest of the deck around that card that got changed, and now that the cards are there, the rest of the cards are kind of useless because they went with that card. And so, like, at least with this, they're making it to where every card has a place. So if you're one of these champs or one of these cards gets changed or nerfed, then the rest of your cards don't fold because they belong somewhere. And that's a really strong mission and a tough mission to uphold. But I think the whole time they've been doing a good job. And I'm really happy to have this dev team, and I hope they keep doing the great work that they're doing. Predictions on the meta. I don't know. I'm going to have to look at it. I'll get you a meta prediction snapshot tomorrow. Once the patch is live, I'm going to play some with the new changes. We're going to see. Got some new decks I want to try. So I think Demacia Bannerman's still going to be Bannerman. That deck's going to keep Bannerman and people. And I think Carmelux is taking a big hit here, which is good. So we'll have to see some different things. Definitely. But yeah, thanks for tuning in. Let's find somebody to raid. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you can be aggravated every time I upload a video with an email. And if you enjoy this content and want to see it live, there's a link to the Twitch stream down below. We have a good time in the stream. It's open song request, chatting it up. Come join the conversation. You could also join the conversation by joining the Discord. Link down below if you're watching on YouTube. Putting it in the chat right now. Yeah, I'll catch y'all tomorrow, Boosty. Going nowhere. Thanks for the tunes. Let's see. Twitch. Let's find somebody to raid. Twitch TV.